So, the Sony Xperia 1, it's finally in. Now, of course, what we get in the box itself is the Sony Xperia 1. We get, of course, our fast charger, which is 18 watts, which means that both sides of the cable itself is USB-C. We get a free headset, which probably doesn't mean that much. And, of course, we get a dongle. I'm not the biggest fan of dongles, but yeah, it is what it is. Because, well, the removal of the headphone jack is a thing. And we know how I feel about it. Now let's get back to the device itself. Now in terms of design, there are quite a bit of changes when it comes to this phone. For one, the first thing you will notice is a much taller display ratio. Now this allows for a much easier one-handed use. I can easily reach both sides compared to something like the Samsung Galaxy S10, where it's just a wider display. Now let me get my Samsung Galaxy S10. Now if I get that one, reaching the other side is just more difficult than on the Sony Xperia. Now in terms of design, I do quite like that. Now what I don't like is the many buttons on the side. Now we have the power button and the fingerprint scanner separated. Before, this was one thing. This made it easier and it made sense. However, this year it is separated, which means that you actually have 4 buttons on the side. You have, of course, your camera button, your power button, your fingerprint scanner, and of course your volume up and down. Like I said, not the biggest fan of the amount of buttons there, including that the power button is quite low. Good thing is, when it is actually closed, you can easily lock it with the fingerprint scanner itself. So it's not like you need that power button a lot of times, just for pushing off the display. So the Sony Xperia 1, I like this device so far. I like how they made the display taller and make it narrower as well. This allows me to actually hold it properly with one hand and easier to reach the other side of the display. It's quite a nice looking device, however, the top and bottom bezel aren't symmetrical, so not the biggest fan of that, but you know, with a black part under it, you don't really notice it that much. Apart from that, we now get a 3-camera setup, and I like how they actually updated the camera system itself. Before, I think that was the weak point for Sony phones. The camera itself had some good parts about it, but it didn't have optical image stabilization, for instance, and it was limited in terms of functions, for me at least. The Sony Xperia XZ3, I think that was one of the best looking devices out there, apart from the layout of the camera, but I think the camera somewhat let it down, especially in low light. I didn't like it, but apart from that, natural colors were a thing on it, and I like that. So I'm really curious how this one will perform. And of course I will be comparing this one to the Samsung Galaxy S10, seeing how it will perform. I'm very curious how it will compete with the S10, and there isn't a DxO score out for this one, because they don't pay DxO to do so. Yeah, anyway, we'll find out how this one performs, and of course stay tuned for more coverage about the Sony Xperia 1. I just got it in, so review will take a bit of time. My target is to use it for 1.5 or 2 weeks, try a bit above it, but you know, with YouTube you kind of want to be early with it, so I'm gonna aim for 2 weeks or 1.5 weeks, like I said. I want to give it a proper review, but so far I'm quite impressed. Anyway, talk to you guys in the next one, and have a good one.